I already hit record, by the way, but just in case we said anything good. Don't want to lose it.
Or bad.
Yeah.
I'll say some stupid things, Mike, too. You know that.
Yeah, that's all right. We can always edit those out. So, are you okay with me recording this and putting it out
sure.
there? All right, let's do it.
How's this working, just so I understand?
Yeah, so I think we're just going to have a conversation. I'll introduce it because so we have, in case we want to do it like kind of a podcast. I don't know whether it's going to make more sense to do it. This is the first one we're doing, so I don't know if it's going to make more sense to do it like a podcast or to maybe just cut out like some snippets that we might do as YouTube shorts or something like that.
Okay. It's just video? I mean, it's just audio, not video?
No, video too.
Okay.
No, we got the Handsome Men's Club domes on full display here.
I'm not dressed up right, though.
Yeah, that's all right. You got that. Honestly, that's like the Silicon Valley uniform, right? That you're wearing right there.
Here,
I mean, you could be. Yeah,
right.
You look like anybody on Sand Hill Road right now.
All right.
So why don't I just in case we're going to do this as a podcast, I'll just kind of kick us off with a little intro here. So let's just welcome our audience. Thanks for joining us. This is for the first of what we hope will be a series here of little discussions that we're having with people who really know how to make mattresses about quality. And so the premise here is essentially that we're helping to educate consumers on what really differentiates a higher quality mattress from a lower quality mattress. There's a lot that goes into it, as you might expect, but very few people know what that is. And so we're bringing on the people who do and let consumers hear that in their own words. And so we are pleased to be joined here in this first of these episodes by Richard Fleck, CEO of Paramount, which is a company that is just right now celebrating its 90th year as a mattress manufacturer. It's been a family-owned business that whole time. And so very few people can speak to this topic as well as Richard can. So we're very glad to have him here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Richard, let's just kick it off with a very open-ended question for you that is right on topic. What, in your mind, what are some of the top things that separate a higher quality mattress from a lower quality one?
We really focus on 4 pillars. We break it down into the 4 pillars of quality. And the first pillar of quality is quality of design. The bed has to be designed properly. And if it's a tight top or if it's a Euro top or if it's a roll top, the design has to work. And if it's a poor design, then the product's going to fail. So design is really the first pillar that you have to hang your hat on. It's very important. We have a team of people that design the beds here in terms of internal construction. And our focus is on the best design, the experience, the years of experience that we all have, making sure that we really have that nice balance of, from an operational standpoint, from a merchandising standpoint, from a strategic standpoint, and from a retailer standpoint. We're taking all that data and really coming up with the right designs in terms of products. And it starts with the design. It starts with the targets, knowing where you want to go, knowing what type of material costs you have to focus on to make a profit, because profit's not a negative word. You have to be profitable to be able to have sustainable products as well. So we focus on the design aspect first, and there's a lot to go.
I want to clarify just one thing, because I'm not sure it's evident to every person listening. These are going to be consumers listening to this, that when you're talking about design, it's not just the aesthetics. When people think of design, they're thinking of just the fabrics, the outside, what you could see, but it's the entire construction. What's in this? How is it assembled? How do you kind of design the entire product from a blank canvas to what you see as a finished mattress?
Correct. The focus, what I'm talking about right now, is not external at all. It's all the internal aspects, because those are things that are not seen. And, consumers are not trusting of our industry. And so you got to start out with the right design of the product, because at the end of the day, if we're going to put a 10, 15, 20-year warranty on a product, that product has to perform night after night for that 10, 15, or 20 years. And that comes from the design aspect. And, our senior team that does the design has over 100 years of experience of making mattresses. And so we understand how beds should be put together, the right designs. Look, there's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of outside testing that we do as well. So when we build out products, it is all the years of experience that go into building them out, knowing what has not worked and knowing what does work. And then also, once we finalize the designs, we actually send them out for independent testing with our spring supplier or with our foam supplier, or completely independent, UL Laboratories or whoever it may be, to make sure that we test it for that 10, 15, 20-year warranty with those cycles. And then we also change the weight factors to make sure it performs for that consumer. The worst thing you can do is create a bed that fails in the consumer's home, and they're coming back into the market. They're upset at the retailer. They're upset at the manufacturer. They're upset at the RSA that sold them the product. And so the whole goal is to keep that bed sold in the home and have a high satisfaction rate with the consumer. So it really starts with the design. And then part of that design is the feel. So, everything in feel is very subjective, but there's 5 major feel buckets that you have to focus on, from extra firm to luxury firm to plush to super plush. And so you have to put those into those 5 buckets as well, depending on what the strategic goals are. And you have to make sure that those beds meet those requirements in terms of design, as well as requirements of performance. And so all that has to be part of that process. So there's a lot. It's like an onion. There's a lot of things that go into it.
And when you think about, you mentioned wanting to avoid a bad customer experience, avoid future returns. When you're thinking about those quality aspects and how the decisions we're going to make now to avoid those bad situations, do you have a hierarchy of sort of how you approach that? So number one might be material type, or what's your kind of hierarchy of how you approach that?
Well, the first thing is design. So you got to come up with the right product design in terms of feel, in terms of look, and when I say look, in pillow top, Euro top, roll top, in terms of the target pricing that you're trying to do. So design is the first thing you got to focus on. And that's number one. Number two, then, is going to be the raw materials go into that product. You have to have the highest quality raw materials that go into the products. We don't use any foams less than 1.5 pound. Our average foam rating is probably 2 pound. When you look at the industry, the average density of foams is about 1.2, 1.3, some as low as 1.0. And those types of foams below the 1.5, especially when you get down to 1.25 or 1.1, 1.0, the softening rate of those foams is drastically different, and that bed will fail very quickly. So you got to have the right materials, and that's from, in terms of natural fibers, in terms of the type of foam construction you're putting into it, in terms of the foam encasement, rail system, which we use upholstery grade, which is a 1.8 pound foam or higher. Density of the spring units that you're putting into it. You don't want to use low density spring units with low density edges. You want to make sure there's a lot of coil coverage on those products. So all those raw material aspects are part of that journey. So it starts with design. Then number two is the raw materials that go into it. The third pillar is going to be the fit and finish. So a mattress is a hand-sewn, handmade component for our company. Not for all mattress companies, but for ours, we have machine-made products and then we have handmade products. And then there's a variable in between the machine to the hand. And so some are like hybrid types of designs, but there's a lot of touch points. And a mattress is no different than a high-end suit or buying a good shoe. You got to make sure the fit and finish is right, because if your panel sizes are wrong and they're cut too big, you're going to have an instant body impression. If your border sizes are wrong, it's going to look like the bed is collapsing because the border is basically wrinkled and it's puckering and doesn't look right. If you don't have the tape edges closed and they're not closed efficiently, then you're in violation of the FR 1633. So the fit and finish is a big aspect of performance as well. So design, materials that go into that design, and then the fit and finish of our craftsmen that manufacture that bed. All three.
How do you guys quality control fit and finish? How do you make sure that that's right?
So again, we have all the standards so everything has a variance from springs to foam to cut sizes, all those things. So you have all the different tables, all the different metrics, all the different cut sizes of all the foams, from upholstery foams to quilts to foam encasement and all those factors, steel encased springs. And so we'll oversize our steel encased springs. So a standard queen size is 60 by 80. Well, the steel encased, because of how the product transports and other factors, you can't make a 60 by 80 because that unit could shrink on transport and you have dimensional tolerance issues. So we actually increase our length of our units and the width. So they finish out about 81 3/4, 82 inches, or 60 and a half, or 60 and 3/4, because you have to make a tight bed. You want to wrap it tight. You want to keep the materials tight because you want that bed to perform. And so when you have a spring unit and you have those tolerances, you can make sure it's finished properly and make sure the borders are nice and taut, make sure the panel is the exact sizing, nice and tight. When you tuft it, it draws it in a little bit. And now the bed finishes out right at that 60 by 80 because all those materials come in slightly. So because you're dealing with a lot of flexible foams, you're dealing with flexible springs, there's a lot of flexibility. But if you don't have the right size and tolerance based on the metrics that we know, being in the industry and what our suppliers working with our supply community, then you're going to have those issues.
So one of the ways is that you're just stuffing it more full, essentially, and that allows you to basically have crisper edges than a saggy bag would have.
Exactly. So you want to make sure everything is finished nice and tight, like a drum. If it's not a drum, it's going to have a problem, and that side plays into that. Like our foam encasement. So we do a foam encasement system with a lot of our products as well. We crown all our spring units that go inside that foam encasement by a 1/2 inch approximately to make sure it sits above the lip of the foam encasement. So when you finish that mattress...
Yeah, so just to explain for the consumer again, what he's saying is that the springs are taller than the foam encasement that sits next to them by a 1/2 inch or so.
Right. Because you don't want to roll into the other sleeper, but you don't want to roll out of the bed either. And so if the unit isn't that crown, we call it a crowning to the unit, if it's not crowned properly, then that unit will have two things that happen. One is you'll sit on the edge and you'll drop in and you feel like you're bottoming out because the unit is actually below the foam encasement rail system and not giving you that proper ride or support. So you have to have preload tension, basically. Or if it's too high and the unit is pushing the sleeper out of bed. So you have this really fine line where you want to make sure the tolerance are within range. So those are all things that not only from experience, but like I said, a lot of testing. We test a lot of products. And as a company, the industry return rate in mattresses is approximately 3 to 4% overall. Online, it's a different return rate because of consumer satisfaction. So most companies do a guaranteed return or things like that. I'm not talking about those rates. I'm just talking overall warranty rates are probably in that 3 to 4% range. Our company, based on our financials, runs at 0.75%. We build a bed that doesn't come back. And that's our goal, because I'm involved in every warranty claim as the president of this company. I'm part of the QC chain that sees everything coming through. And the worst thing you can have is a dissatisfied consumer, upset consumer about their experience buying from us, buying from the retailer, buying from that RSA. And we want to prevent that from happening.
Yeah. This is great. I'm curious what, obviously, like with the focus on making sure the product doesn't come back, making sure that consumers are satisfied once this product is in their home years from now, and being so directly part of the QC on that and the process when those products, when or if they ever do come back, there are obviously a lot of things that you must do. And this is, by the way, the other backdrop here is obviously every manufacturer, for the purposes of making sure that they are sustainable and profitable, wants to make sure that they're doing things as cost effectively as possible. So nothing in your processes is done for no reason, especially nothing that costs money.
Right.
But at the same time, given this priority on durability and satisfaction over the long haul, there are, I'm sure, a lot of things that you're doing that do cost money and cost more money than other ways you could do them.
Right.
That you specifically are willing to do because you know that otherwise X, Y, or Z will happen. What are some of those, some of the bigger examples of those things?
So first and foremost, we pay all of our employees hourly. So most factories today are on a piece rate system. So basically, the more they produce, the more the worker can get, because he can push out a lot of units. So that piece rate system is kind of an old school mentality. We actually changed in 2014, 2013 to just an hourly rate system where we actually slowed the factory down, focused on quality, more expensive, because we're not trying to, be the highest efficient and crank these products out. We're trying to build the best possible product for the best possible sleep experience. Much different. So your labor costs will be higher under our scenario versus another scenario. So that would be number one. Number two is we have a QC person full-time. Most factories, again, I'm just talking in general, they don't have a full-time QC person that's dedicated just to quality control. We do. We made that investment. And most factories do what's called the next process is the customer, where they focus on going down the line and the other worker's supposed to catch the issue that the other guy did wrong, take it back. Well, you have a situation where you're on piece rate. So would you really stop the factory to take that product back to that work, have them redo it? Or would you just push it through and just say, just get it done? Because there's a lot of pressure, right? Because you have the people in the factory.
Everybody's piece rate depends on units keeping moving.
Exactly. And so then the other thing is every worker has to sign off on the tag saying they produced it. And then we have a final inspection table at the very end of our facility right before it goes into the bagging machine. And if there's something wrong, it gets a complete inspection. If there's something wrong, then that product goes back to that individual to fix that issue that they found from a management perspective. So the inspector, the QC, that's taken back, and that impacts the other individual. They have to work longer, whatever it may be, but it has an impact, especially to the reputation, because everybody's watching quality. So the other thing we do is our packaging requirements are much different. How we use boots, cardboard boxes, Tyvek bags, a lot of different variables, because, you have to invest in the proper packaging to make sure it's delivered.
What are boots? I'm not familiar with that term.
The boots go at the end of the mattress. So the head and the foot of the mattress will actually have an additional boot that covers it because
Is that like an L-shaped piece of cardboard, or what does it
it's
look
either
like?
an L-shaped piece of cardboard, which we have, or it's an extra polypropylene bag that goes on the head and foot of the bed. And again, that additional package prevents any types of impact on delivery because there's a lot of touch points. It gets loaded in our factory, goes on a truck, goes to a retailer, gets put in their rack system, goes out on delivery, goes into a customer's home. So if your packaging isn't robust and your packaging doesn't pass the standards of going through all those steps, then you're going to get dirt or you're going to get tears or whatever the impact is. So the extra packaging we put in place is another aspect. At the end of the day, all this stuff costs money. All this investment costs money. But a return has not only direct cost, there's a lot of hidden cost. And and the biggest hidden cost is you slow down momentum at the retailer because they've had issues, so they got to come off the floor. They got to handle a customer service complaint. They spend all their time doing that. Then they concerned about selling the product. Oh, we had an issue. Should I really be selling this bed? What have you done to correct this? And so
Loss of confidence.
Loss of confidence. And, the retail sales associates, they have one or two returns on a product. It's a tight-knit community and a small environment. They just don't talk to the other retail sales associates on the floor. They talk to the other stores. Oh, have you had an issue with this product? Have you had any odor issue? Have you had dimensional tolerance issues? Whatever it may be, and it spreads like wildfire. So that minimum cost is huge. And then obviously that cost to the consumer not wanting to buy your product again, negative reviews, all the other things, social media aspect. It's just not worth it. It's not worth trying to shortchange a process or a quality product production to be able to try to hope that the consumer gets a high quality product. You don't want to be in that position. The risk, as we say, the piss off isn't worth the payoff. So, you just don't want to go down that path. And I'd rather find a mistake here in this factory than find a mistake in a consumer's home or on a retailer's floor.
Yeah, the cost of catching it and fixing it right then in the factory is minuscule compared to everything that you just laid out.
Right,
all those
because
downstream hidden costs.
Right, because if you don't catch it here, then you ship the product back, you ship the product out, so you have all your freight costs, but then you got all your return freight costs, then you got your tear down, you got your inspection, you got your time. I mean, it just becomes this snowball that keeps rolling, and it has such a big impact. Hey, quiet.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the transport of the mattress and all those touch points. And I do feel like that's a part of the process where things can go wrong with a lower quality mattress. And it's not just those things that would be immediately evident to the consumer, like, oh, there's a tear. I mean, that's something a consumer will see, right? But let's talk about some of the things that can go wrong on the inside of the mattress that a consumer won't know about till, a few months or even a few years later. But it was a result of maybe the mattress not being built in such a way that it could withstand the normal process of all those touch points that it takes to get to the consumer.
Yeah, so we touched on the 3 quality pillars. The fourth one is really quality of service, which is exactly what you're talking about. Making sure the product gets to the consumer's home in the same format that it was manufactured in this factory. So you want to make sure that what you produce in this factory is exactly how the consumer is getting in their home, that the packaging is not torn, there's no tears in the bed, there's no dirt marks, it did get damaged in transport. So all those things are critical. So that final touch point, that quality of service is huge to that question. So that's the fourth pillar that we're talking about.
Right,
So
but isn't there also like some of the other pillars that play into like the design of the mattress probably plays into the ability for you to execute on that fourth pillar, right? Or
right. So, we actually transportation test our products that we prototype. So if we're building a new prototype, we send the bed out for a ride. So we'll actually put it on a truck and we'll do our delivery route. Our longest delivery route could be Chicago, could be Atlanta, could be New York, whatever the delivery route is. And we take that product out, the entire truck, all the way back, and we bring it back to the factory. Then we open it up and we measure it. We confirm the sizing. We confirm that the materials didn't separate. We confirm that everything is square and we would want to buy the bed for ourselves. So that transportation testing is something we probably started in 2014, especially with steel encased units because of dimensional tolerance issues. We really went down that path of having additional transportation testing because, look, do we make mistakes 100%? Absolutely. But our goal is to figure out what the mistakes are and then course correct and fix those mistakes.
right.
And we found out early in the process, back in 2014, 2015, that you got to start transportation testing your products because if you don't, you haven't created a real world scenario of delivering that bed all the way through the entire retail process into a warehouse. We don't control the storage of a retailer. We can't tell them, oh, you got to store it on its side or store it on its head or whatever it may be. So that transportation testing takes it to another level. And that's something we do on all new construction.
I love that. I love that idea that consumers, I'm sure most consumers have no idea that sometimes they'll see a mattress truck driving around and that mattress is going right back where it came from. It's just on a
It's
ride.
just going for a ride. It's going for a little holiday.
That's hilarious. A little vacation for this mattress. We're taking them out to Chicago and back.
But you learn a lot. You learn a lot by doing that.
I'm sure you do. It's hilarious for me to even imagine what, let's say, an overseas, the kind of mattress you get on Amazon, the kind of mattress made somewhere in Asia.
Right.
What would they have to do? Obviously, they don't do it, but what would they have to do? They'd have to send it on a slow boat across the Pacific Ocean in like humidity and all kinds of weird conditions, then send it back. That would be their ride that they'd have to do. And it's kind of hilarious to think about that.
Right. And then, the other thing is, we're a Southern factory. We have a Miami factory. We have a Midwest factory. We have a Dallas, Texas factory, California. Conditions are unique, especially in the South and the East, with humidity. So we do two things with our trailers. Number one, we actually disinfect our trailers prior to anything going in it. Two is we lay plastic down on the trailer floors to help prevent any damage. And three is, especially in the summer months, we actually put additional pods in there to make sure, moisture pods, so they actually suck up the moisture in the trailer so there's no moisture damage inside the bags or anything like that. So again, another step that we'll do just to ensure the quality, because the last thing you want is a return, obviously, but you don't want any mold, mildew, or other issues. And if you're gluing, which most factories use some type of glue, that could stay wet and that can perspire inside the bag in a hot trailer. So you need to do things like that to make sure that the product gets there in a quality manner with no mold, with no mildew, none of those things. You'll see that more on latex and some other products like that, but it's something that you got to be right.
Why is latex more prone to mold and mildew?
It can sometimes hold the moisture with the gluing process sometimes.
Oh, got it.
You just got to pay attention to that situation. Or if you don't let the glue adhere properly with the proper cure times, it could be a regular foam mattress. It could be a spring mattress, and that foam hasn't cured properly, and you put that immediately into a hot truck, then that it'll create really kind of a microclimate inside that bag where you create a lot of humidity, and that becomes potential mold issue. So things like that that you have to be aware of, especially in the drier climates in Arizona or whatnot, not a big deal. But in the South and in the Eastern Seaboard, where you have more moisture ratings, then you have to be aware of that.
Let's go back to the you take the mattress for a ride and then you bring it back to the factory. Tell me again, what are the things that you're measuring about that mattress to kind of assess that to make sure it's transportation proof?
So you measure the dimensional tolerances when you get back. So you make sure, ISPA has a standard. It's, plus or minus 3/4 of an inch for the most part. It can vary depending.
So you're making sure it's still the same 60 by 80 or whatever it's supposed to be.
You're making sure it's within the ISPA, which is International Sleep Product Association standard deviance in terms of sizing and dimensional tolerance. So you want it to be 60 by 80, but it has to be within that standard. You want to make sure that the foams didn't buckle. So, and that the gluing process or the tufting process held.
Is that just a visual inspection, or is there something you're doing to ensure?
You do a whole full tear down. So you tear down.
You take it apart to see if there's any like wavy, like
right. If the unit shifted inside, if any raw material shifted inside, if the tuft broke, which I've never seen, but you just want to measure all those variables. Because weight has a big factor, and we make some beds that weigh up to 400 pounds. So you want to make sure that the bed is square, the bed held its integrity, held its shape, the materials haven't shifted, the spring unit hasn't shifted, you don't have any blowouts, meaning that the side hasn't caved in with the spring unit or anything like that. So you look at you tear the whole bed down, you review every component and make sure that it passed the transportation testing, because making a mattress just sitting on the floor is much different than making a mattress that's going 800, 1,600 miles in a truck. Big difference.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. What other things are you looking at when you go look at competitive products? And obviously you don't have to call anybody out, but like, what are you seeing when you look at them with your eye, your trained eye, and what are you testing if you were to like check something out from a competitive standpoint, wanting to understand what someone else is doing? Where are you seeing like, oh, I see this problem, and particularly this might be with competitors that are at lower price points, for example.
Yep.
Where are you seeing that? Oh, see, you see this problem here. I can just readily assess this, and it's an evidence of something that's likely to go further wrong in the future. This is the thing going to happen, or the path this will go down, and it stems directly from the fact that they did this or they didn't do this in the design or manufacturing of the product.
Yeah, I mean. So the first thing you look at is the visual impact of the fit and feel of the product, fit and finish. So you want to look at the product, and you want to look at it as a consumer and as a manufacturer. You don't want to look at it just as a manufacturer. You want to look at it as both. So from a visual aspect, I always look at the tape edge. Is the tape edge nice and tight? Is it clean? Is it wavy? Is it finished properly? Is the border height right? Is the border sagging? Is it wrinkling? What's happening from a visual aspect? Does the bed look like the panel's too large where it's starting to show a body impression already? Because a large panel will create an instant body impression. So really it's the visual look of the bed. And, that's important from our perspective, but it's also very important from a consumer perspective. They did a study many years ago, and one of the most important things is a nice, tight tape edge that wasn't wavy. Consumers look at that very, very closely, because if you walk up and the tape edge is wavy and moving all over, that doesn't look like a high quality product. So
well, and I think what you've been, based on some of the things you explained earlier, I think it's what you basically have explained is that it isn't a high quality product.
it is.
That it is,
No.
that's actually a pretty good barometer for a consumer to use.
Right. So
what else is happening that they can't see?
correct. So you want to look at it from a visual aspect first. The second thing is you want to do kind of the kinesthetic, the touch feel aspect. You want to sit on the edge of the bed. If you sit on the edge of the bed and the edge collapses, that usually means two things are either going on. One is they're either using low density spring units or low density foam with low density foam encasement. If you feel like you sit on it and you go into the edge deep and almost touching the foundation, then they're not using the right quality of support system in the edge. Why that's so important is because most consumers sleep to the edge of the bed, but also a lot of consumers sit on the edge of the bed. And one of the things that you hear all the time at point of sale, because I'm in a lot of retailers, I still work the floors and get out there and talk to the RSAs and help out with events if I'm needed. And if a consumer sits on the edge of the bed and it collapses, the first thing they'll say is, well, that feels like my bed at home. That's not what I want. Because that's what it does feel like to them. So they're usually buying a bed because it's failing because of body impressions or edge failure or whatever it may be. Those are big drivers. And so they don't want a bed that feels that same way in the store. So it's something that we really pay attention to because that is a very good indicator of what types of materials are being used in a product. Then you lay down on it and make sure your body's being ergonomically supported properly. You're not caving into the mattress. It's giving you that proper balance and support. Obviously, feel plays into that. But you can tell when a bed doesn't have that support structure versus a mattress that does. And so without tearing it down, you can't prove it out sometimes, but you can understand there's something not right. And probably the best anecdotal way of saying, yeah, there's just something not right with this product.
Well, let me ask a trickier question. Not that I'm trying to trick you, but I think it's a trickier question inherently. Are there any cases where durability is at odds with something else that you're trying to achieve with the mattress apart from cost? Like, some performance aspect being better, like, is there any case where it's like we would like this way would make the mattress more durable, but this way makes it do this other thing that we think is important for the consumer, and this will make it perform better in that way? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Paramount does not make any super soft mattresses. So when someone says, oh, I want that uber soft, plush, gooey mattress, that's not us. Because if you're using, the pillars I talked about, the quality of design, the quality of the raw materials, and the quality of the fit finish and tufting and all that, the beds are going to be naturally firmer. So the things that compete is an ultra plush soft bed with all the things I just described. You just can't get those two. So what we do to get around that is we sell toppers. Now with a mattress and a topper, I can get that super plush kind of sleep experience, or we call it a sleep kit. And we actually do them with a lot of hotel properties and boutique hotels. I can't get that feel with the products I produce. Other manufacturers can because of the materials they're using or the design they're doing or whatever it may take place. And I'm not going to speak against them, but that's just not who we are. And that's not who
but you can't meet your standards for the durability aspects
and make
while
really
delivering that feel.
Right. So that's probably the biggest competing thing. I can't
a great
make
example.
That super soft mattress, without sacrificing the other elements I've discussed. And that's why toppers have become so important, because I can achieve that feel by making a high quality topper that's not tied down and not tufted and not taped and all those other things with a high quality support system. And support is the number one thing consumers are looking for today, based on some data we just recently saw from Better Sleep Council. So the journey we're telling and going through is the right journey. Do you sacrifice at times short term? Yeah. Long term? No. And, we have a program called Heavy Duty. There's no such thing as a super soft heavy duty mattress. It's an oxymoron. You just can't do it because I'm using 12 3/4 gauge spring units. I'm using 1.8 pound foams or greater, all these different variables. They're all fully tufted, not just 5 or 6 tufts, but 25 to 30 tufts. And it's a 2-inch compression set. Well, I can't make a real soft bed by doing that.
Yeah. You might want to just explain what a 2-inch compression set means, because that's not something we've touched on yet. And I do think it's a big part of what you guys do in terms of building your products to last.
Yeah. So I would say probably 75% of the products we manufacture today are tufted. Personally, myself and our design team, and again, they have a lot of years of experience in this industry, we feel that tufting is probably the single most important thing you can do to a mattress.
And just again, I'll pause just to educate the uneducated consumer who doesn't know what tufted is. It's basically where there are actual threads of heavy duty nylon that are pulled through the mattress and attached both at the top and the bottom, and are like holding it together, essentially running vertically through various points in the mattress to hold the mattress together and kind of cinch it together.
Yeah, basically it's a hand tying technique. And it's very old school. It's something that happened many, many years ago in the industry. Back in the early 1900s, beds were tufted, inner tufted, outer tufted. And so we outer tuft a lot of our products. We have some products that are inner and outer tufted. And so basically the best way to explain it is you're basically putting a preload on that mattress. So if it's a 12-inch mattress, I'm going to put a 2-inch compression preload onto that product, and I'm going to put a 12-inch mattress. I'm going to put a 10-inch strap. So that bed has 2 inches of tension, and it goes into a machine. It's a giant clamshell machine. It actually squeezes the mattress down to about 4 to 6 inches, and then a person goes through and hand tufts the entire product, and it takes about 15 to 20 minutes per mattress. And then it's released, and now it has a 2-inch compression set where it's going to provide more support, less partner disturbance. It's going to tie all those materials together. It does so many different factors, and it works incredible. I've been sleeping on tufted beds for 20 years, and I think it is one of the biggest signatures of a handcrafted and a high-quality mattress today. But
and just again, I'll explain one more thing so essentially that strap that runs through the mattress is going to be 2 inches shorter than the tape edge to tape edge distance on the edge of the mattress. So that's what he means by like it's compressed. So it really is, everything's in there. It's essentially packed down and maintained in that packed down way even after the process is complete.
Right. And so what it does is creates more support because the bed is actually compressed where you're getting that support structure, because if you're 200 pounds and the bed's not tufted, right, you're going to sink in that 2 inches, maybe 3, whatever level you are. If it's tufted, well, we've taken 2 inches of false loft out of that mattress, pre-compressed it, preloaded it. So when you lay down on that product, you might only sink in a 1/2 inch or 1 inch now because of the tufting taking all that tension down. So that creates that support structure where it provides that ergonomic support, but it also provides much better longevity. And, again, in our testing, we show that a tufted mattress actually performs much better in all the key ratios that you measure for performance.
Yeah,
I think
and you guys are using a lot of natural materials too, which makes that tufting even more important because those things, they just really need to be cinched together in that way.
Yeah, I mean, we're using the natural wools. We're using merino wool. We're using cashmere. We're using,
Don't forget cotton.
a lot of cotton. We're, with our cotton ink, now credited. We're the only mattress company that has a cotton ink trademark now. And so we are using a lot of natural materials, and natural materials work better when they're compressed. They don't work as well as when they're not compressed. Tufted.
What is inner tufted?
So inner tufted is basically a mattress within a mattress. And so you're taking a finished mattress, tufting the whole product, and then dropping it into another mattress where then you retuft the whole entire thing.
Wow.
So our Paramount Legacy collection is inner tufted and outer tufted. And inner tufting is something that was done in the 30s and the 40s and 50s. In fact, being 90 years old, the second generation Arthur Diamondstein, he used to intertuft a ton of the products back in the 50s and 60s. And so we kind of resurrected that concept when he passed away a couple of years ago in his memory, and we created a intertufted mattress, and it's part of our
What's the benefit of that?
Basically, that bed will never fail. You can put a lifetime warranty on that product. That bed will look the same 50 years from now as it does today. I mean, because you're taking two mattresses, completed, tufting, finished, everything, and putting them together. There's just nowhere for the mattress to go. It's not going to.
You cinched it and then cinched it again.
Yeah, there's like 80 tufts in the bed, and both inner and outer. So. It's a very, very unique design. It takes us 3 days to make one of those beds.
Whoa.
So it really is old school technology. And we actually have them placed at a couple key retailers in the country, and they're selling them for $10,000, $15,000, and they absolutely love the products. I mean, it's just nothing like it.
That would be a cool video to see that being made, because that's something I certainly have never seen before. I can't imagine anybody else has.
Yeah, it's called the Legacy Collection, and it's the Arthur 1.0, 6.0, and 9.0. 9.0 is 90 years of business. 6.0 is 60 years being based in this factory in Norfolk. And then 1.0 is just the original concept when he first made it. So that's kind of how we broke it out. And there's 3 different feels, very simplistic. In terms of the feel parameters, all natural materials, no polyurethane, inner outer tufted, completely hand cut, hand assembled. The only machine that touches it is to close the tape edge, and that's it. No other machine touches it, and it's bench made. Kind of like the old Italian, shoes made on a bench where guys are cobblers making the shoes. Same exact concept, where you have 2 or 3 people that can only authorized to make this product. So really, really unique.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Like the Russian doll of mattresses.
Exactly.
Richard, I'm curious.
Millions.
Yeah. You just keep opening it up. There's a tinier and tinier mattress in the middle. It's just, you get to this
yeah, exactly. I like that.
I'm curious to know. So, historically, the industry has really just had a couple of durability tests, Rollator and Cornell. Most people in the industry feel like they don't really do the bigger picture of durability and quality justice. Like if you had if in an ideal world, if an independent lab tester, such as GoodBed, let's say, could develop a more robust set of tests related to quality, what else would you look at? What other things would you do to test a mattress that would reveal its true both quality and longevity?
That's a great question. There's a lot of testing done on the component side. and that's a lot more robust than the finished mattress side, And one of the things is try to take those two worlds and bring them together where the testing is more robust on the finished side. So I think there's a lot that goes into that answer. I don't think it's that simple, but the first thing I would say is the average weight of two people in bed today, male, female, is 370 pounds. When the standard test for the mattress industry was developed back in the 50s and 60s, the average weight of two people in bed was closer to 230, 250 pounds. It's changed a lot. Body shapes and sizes have changed a lot. BMI indexes have changed a lot. Well, the problem is the industry hasn't updated the testing methodology since then. So the standard ASTM test is still at 230 pounds and 10 years of simulated use, which is 100,000 cycles. We test our products because our warranties are 10, 15, and 20. We test our beds at 200,000 cycles, which is 20 years of simulated use, at 360 pounds. Why 360? A, it's close to the average weight of two people in bed, but B is that's the highest the machine could go in terms of tests. So the first thing I would say is take the machine and elevate it to 400, 450 pounds. And that way, if it passes that type of weight load, now getting, there are a lot of, two people in bed, there are a lot of couples that probably are close to that 400, 420, 450 weight capacity.
Sure.
So you should be testing beds to that level, and everybody goes, oh, you need to lower the warranty. No, you just need to make a high quality product. Don't warranty. And I think you did this study, Mike, where warranty has no relationship with how often you replace a bed. So why are we tying those two things? They don't wake up and go, oh, my bed's 9 years and, 62 days old. I got to get a new mattress. I mean, they got to do that.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
So let's focus on that. So I think weight would be a big factor. I think that, one of the tests we just did was a dimple test, which is putting the platen at different locations on the bed, on the rail system of the foam encasement, and that was measured in the center of the bed. That was measured, the head and the foot, that was measured. So I think having the platen testing is real important because making sure that everything is working together in the process that it's supposed to work together. So if your spring unit is performing, but your foam encasement system on the edge is not performing, and that dimple testing is showing different softening results on the edge or the head or the side versus the middle, well, then something needs to be changed and adjusted. So I think that's an important test, especially with how much, foam encasement products are done in the market.
When you say dimple testing, you're just talking about running the UTM, Universal Tensor Machine, into the mattress.
Yeah.
And
just
getting ILD.
Softness. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But pounding it, based on that weight load over a longer period of time.
Oh, you're talking about actually hitting it like a Cornell machine.
Yeah.
Got it.
Exactly.
On the edge. Yeah.
So we had one of our suppliers just perform that because it's a foam encasement system and we wanted to test the whole entire product, not just their spring unit. So we sent a finished bed down and they tested all those different, we gave them all the tests we wanted and they complied. Softening test is really important to show the softening of the foams, and they're doing that through radio frequency now and some other ways of doing that. So the softening test is really important. I think the one test that I haven't seen is really, they do it on adjustable beds, but they should do it on an adjustable bed with a mattress or a mattress by itself and bending it for the 10-year cycle and seeing what the impact is to that mattress on an adjustable bed. I don't think that test exists. If it does, I'm not aware of it. But I think that would be a good test to add, especially in light that I think the attachment rate on adjustable beds is 40% now, something like that. And then the other test would be testing it as a complete set, which we do in a lot of cases, because the type of foundations, these wire grid foundations are being used, do not perform to the level of we use an Amish slat system in our products, totally different results. And you get king ridges with the different types of foundations. So incorporating a foundation, because still a lot of foundations are being sold. So testing it mattress only as a set and making sure the whole sleep system is properly being tested, not just one aspect.
Mm-hmm.
What about things on the exterior? So are there ways, for example, on certain mattresses, the stitching on the quilt, some will have the threads coming out more often than others. When you're looking at a quilting and a stitching, how might a brand cut corners as it relates to either the thread or the machine that stitches it? Is that even something you would ever think about, or that doesn't really matter?
Yeah, I mean, look, all that matters, especially when we sell beds that go to $25,000. So, you got to make sure the product doesn't have, what they call tails and, the stitching coming undone and things like that. So that is a mark of quality as well. So it is important. A lot of times that could be the type of machine. It could be the tension on the machine. There's a lot of things that go in why that could happen. The fabric would be an interesting test to test the tensile strength of the fabric. And I think that would be another test I would do because,
like the top panel or where would you test
fabric
that?
It's not for the top panel. Yeah. Because we're buying gram weights, gram weight is how a knit is measured. It's measured in gram weight. And so we're buying, 400, 500, sometimes up to 600 gram weights. The industry average is probably 230 to 260 in a gram weight. So if you did a tensile strength test on that knit, you would have that fabric probably splitting at a certain level versus a 500 or 400 gram weight fabric. You're going to have much different tensile strength. So I think developing things like that would make our industry better. I think really figuring out what the firmness rating of that mattress is, what the finished ILD rating, which is internal load deflection, what would be the finished ILD rating of that mattress so you could quantify and qualify not just the firmness rating, but possibly the support structure as well.
Right.
So those are all tests. Look, the industry is changing and growing and, but we still have a lot of things we can do better. And, look, we have a lot of things at Paramount we can do better. And we're always focused on constant improvement.
Well, that's doing things better is part of the reason we wanted to have this call with you is obviously we're developing tests and we want to make sure that we're developing tests as well as we can. We're what we're doing right now is going to be V1 of a process whereby we continue to get better and better. So this is part of the way we can do that is asking questions of folks like you who can educate us and guide us on how to really delineate higher quality from lower quality.
The other test I would do, and we had a customer buy a bunch of sandbags. This is going back 10 years when we first introduced HD. And they set the sandbags, and they were a tough customer. We finally opened them. But basically, their test was taking 20-pound, 30-pound sandbags and just putting the mattress in the warehouse and they
leaving them there.
Put sandbags on our bed for like a year. Yeah. And the bed was like, bulletproof. I mean, it was like flawless. And they were blown away. But, my point being is you can take a body weight test, and that would be another one I would do, because king ridges is a real issue in this industry as well. And so if you could take two bodies, robots being, what weight factors, whatever, just figure out how to mimic two different people sleeping in bed with two different weight factors, putting that in a mattress and have a 250-pound person on one side and 150-pound and seeing what that does over time. And if you develop that king ridge, I think that would be another really good test to perform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's tests that take a year are a little tough.
That was a little much. We, every week we go, where's the guy with the sandbags?
Yeah.
He's still testing.
Theoretically, what we could do is just use the mattress for 10 years and see what happens. But
The worst part is that's the true story, So it was their way of testing it. It was, guy down in North Carolina. But, look.
I do love it, though. I mean, it is, I think it's obviously a valid test. It's just a question of how practical it is.
Yeah, I mean, consumers don't want to be taken. They don't want to be sold. They don't want to be...
Nor should they be.
Yeah, why should they be? And they want to be heard, and they don't want to be misrepresented. And, with everything going on in the industry, especially with the roll pack mattresses and all these changes that are going on, there's a little buyer beware going on. And so, you got to meet... If you're going to offer a warranty that has a 10, 15, 20-year warranty, whatever the warranty is, you made that promise to the consumer. So make sure you succeed and fulfill that promise to that consumer. Because the last thing they want to worry about is getting a good night's sleep after a long, hard day. They want to make sure the bed does exactly what it's supposed to do, and they can forget about it and go to sleep at night knowing they got the best proper rest.
Yeah.
Let's deliver on that.
But they also need to know, consumers also need to know that just because a mattress has a 10-year warranty on it, or a 20-year even, doesn't mean that manufacturer did all those things that you do to back up your 20-year warranty. I mean, a lot of those things you find on Amazon have at least a 10-year warranty, and it's not representative of how long you should expect it to last. It's simply representative of how long they were willing to warranty it. And then the other thing to know about warranties is that what is considered a warranty event is often takes far, far more catastrophic level of damage than what people would normally just say, hey, this mattress isn't giving me any good support. It's not giving me any, it's not comfortable or pressure relieving or whatever else I need from it. So in most cases, you're getting rid of that long before or without there ever having been even a quote unquote warranty event. So,
right. I mean, those are all great points. There's a marketing warranty, and then there's a manufacturer warranty. So which warranty are you really getting? Are you getting the marketing side of the warranty, or are you getting the manufacturer warranty?
Because they look the same.
They look the same, but they act pretty independent. And I think, the other thing is we're a family-owned and operated company, and it's our reputation. If it's a big corporation and they have an issue, you're hiding behind multiple layers of bureaucracy. We have an issue, first of all, like I said earlier in this podcast, I know about it already. And, our goal is to make sure that we engineer out any of these issues as much as we can as a manufacturer. And that's our responsibility to our consumer, to our retailer, to the retail sales associate, to our employees, is to manufacture as much of those warranties out of our system. And that's why we run at 0.75%, because we believe that it is absolutely crucial to the journey of the consumer to deliver on a better experience. We can do that. And we can validate it, and we can back it with the results. Then we're doing something to change people's lives. We're not selling a mattress. We're selling sleep. And at the end of the day, sleep is such a crucial component to people's health and well-being. And we better take that seriously, because if we don't, then something's wrong.
Well said.
I think we should leave it there, Richard. There's not many better ways to say it than that. So appreciate it. This was very insightful. I learned a lot even myself, especially about mattresses, going on vacation, getting rides to Chicago and back.
Well, we don't send them to the Bahamas. They don't sit there on the beach with my kind.
Hey, I'm from Chicago, so that sounded awesome to me to go to Chicago.
They're at the show, they're having dinner with
maybe
you.
Maybe catch a Cubs game while you're there.
It's crazy. It's like, what is that, Flat Stanley? It's like a Flat Stanley going across the globe.
Yeah. Get some deep dish. It's going to be a good time.
Take care of my little mattress friend.
The Mattress is such a good listener, too. It's a great friend to hang out with.
They don't interrupt you. They don't talk over you.
Exactly. They always agree. I always agree with it, whatever I say. Wonderful.
No, thank you for
Awesome.
having us. And, it is a great journey. And, I've been doing it 35 years, and it's important to help change people's lives.
Agreed, 100%. And yeah, thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge that you've accumulated over that time. It's really great. And I'm sure everybody listening learned a lot as well. So we'll sign off from there. Thanks again to Richard Fleck from Paramount Sleep, and take care. Till the next time, guys.
Thank you, GoodBed.